Hey everybody, it's X, and welcome to my final Chromatic Cube draft this time around. If you somehow haven't watched any of the other videos and haven't heard of what a cube draft is, it's when we're going to be drafting a set of all of the strongest like rares and mythics, just super powerful cards from Magic's entire history. You can build your own cube with paper cards you have and then draft from those. The idea behind it is to just like have a lot of fun drafting the format. So it is not about expanding your collection. We don't get to keep all these rares and mythics. We don't get to keep anything we draft. It's purely for the fun of the event as well as the prizes on the tracker. So without further ado, let's get into this final Chromatic Cube draft. We've had some really good success and a really fun time this time around generally. We've done 3 different strategies. They've all played super well. Dimir Control, Is It Spells, and now Green Ramp last time. And I think I want to try to go for another Green Rampy deck. I just think Uro's a really strong card. For 3 mana, you get to gain 3 life, draw a card, and play another land this turn. So it's a great ramp spell that doubles as an incredible win condition in the late game. Escaping it back from your graveyard lets you keep a permanent 6/6 body that draws you more cards, gains you more life, and puts more lands on the board later. So I think that's the strongest card in this pack, and I'm just going to roll with that. Pick number 2. We've got Phyrexian Metamorph. I've been generally pretty impressed by. It is just going to copy the best artifact or creature on the battlefield, but for only 3 mana, you can often just be like, okay, for 3 mana, I'm going to get a, incredible 5-drop creature, 6-drop creature. Anything in the Chromatic Cube is going to be a really solid creature to copy because they've only put good cards in the cube generally. So I like the Metamorph a lot, and I think it'll work pretty well in an Uro deck as well. Some kind of blue-green ramp stuff with a Metamorph in here and an Uro in here seems strong, so I'm going to roll with that. Although I have also enjoyed the Cursed Mirror. It's a ramp spell that also often will like draw you a card or gain you some life or something when you play it, because the turn you play it, you can just copy some opposing creature with an enter effect. Like if they have an Uro escaped on the board, then when you play your Cursed Mirror, you get to get an Uro. So you get a 6/6 Cursed Mirror that gains you 3, draws a card, you attack in, gain 3, draw another card, and then of course once you pass the turn, it'll just become that mana rock for the rest of the game. So it's a mana rock that becomes just a really good top deck in the late game and often gives you a little value the turn you draw it. Pick 3. We could keep it pretty fun, pretty simple here. Just go all clones all day. That'd be pretty fun. Spell Swindle I have seen be pretty absurd as well. Generally, counterspells that cost this much mana are quite bad, but in this cube, a lot of what it's about is resolving big 6-7 mana unbeatable finishers. So Spell Swindle is way better in this cube than it is in a normal draft format, or especially than it would be in Arena Cube, because in an Arena Cube this would be infinitely too slow. But I think it's actually pretty solid here. So I don't mind potentially taking that. It would be funnier to just take Clever Impersonator and start with the double clone. So I'm still really tempted to do that as well. Vona is one of the better kind of finishers. It's a 5 mana 4/2 menace, but you also destroy your opponent's best permanent when you play it. And if it's good enough, you can even discard a card and put a copy of that permanent to your hand. So Vona is quite absurd too. So all around a really good pack. I think I will Spell Swindle here. As goofy as Double Clone would be, I think that card's going to be genuinely impressive, and it can let us play an early Bolas. Can't resist that. If there were a Mana Dork in this pack, I would probably do the Diligent thing and take that, but there's not. There's just a bunch of really good alternate ways to win, or one big triome. I'm going to pick my favorite way to win the game ever. I don't know if that's true. I'm going to pick my favorite character in Magic the Gathering all the time, which is Bolas. I don't know if it's my favorite way to win. Because let's go, baby. Slam dunk, insta-pick. There's no other option, clearly. Yeah, I'm such a drafter. I don't really do cube and constructed that often. I really like normal draft formats. I love just the theming and the flavor and the gameplay of just playing one specific set and getting really focused and good at that. So because I've only ever drafted these basically in cube or maybe like one time in Hour of Devastation, I don't think they're actually my favorite way to win a game just because I haven't actually played them that much. But Bolas is my favorite character in Magic the Gathering. So there's that. All right. Spent some picks on some Bolases, which is great. Now we can go back to being an idiot and taking a Surgical Metamorph for Clone, but Grixis, I think, is actually a really good color pair for Kiora, not because she's going to draw a lot of cards, but because the ramp in Grixis is not creature-based. It's not like land-based. It is going to be some mana rocks that might be able to give you 2 mana off of the 1 rock, so being able to untap those mana rocks with Kiora seems pretty good. We could also take Savai Triumph. That's probably a pretty big pick. Get a red-black duel. You know what? I'll take Triumph here. I want to be very confident that I can cast these Bolases. So here's the blue-red duel now. That one's a really easy pick. It's only competing with Tribal Flames, which is just a fine early removal spell. You want to have a couple of those, but I find that a lot of the cards you need to kill are going to be much, much bigger, like too big to kill with the Tribal Flames. The best thing that is going to do is help you kill Mana Dorks, which is important. Electrolyze is way better at killing Mana Dorks, though. This kills a Mana Dork and draws a card, so I'm really happy to take this. Bituminous Blast is cool, too. Does not play well with counter spells, but other than that, it's pretty great. I'm going to be drafting probably all the blue counter spells I can get here to go with my Bolas control deck. So here's Electrolyze. There's Hedron Archive. Little sad I didn't take Kiora, because that's kind of the wombo combo. You want to get Kiora with any mana rock that adds 2 mana. But I'm still going to take it towards the 7 mana Bolas here. And if we're going to be taking mana rocks that add double colorless, we really want our mana base to be as good as possible, as we're not going to have a lot of mana rocks that give us a mana of any color. We're not going to have any creatures that give us a mana of any color, obviously. So we need our fixing in the mana base to really, really get there. So lots of dual lands and triomes to make sure we're always hitting the right colors. Boom. Slam dunk Dragon Skull Summit. Curse Mirror. I have enjoyed that card a lot, but as I was just saying, we're really going to need the right lands to consistently hit our mana, because that's also just a 1-color mana rock. It's not a mana of any color or anything. Pick 11. Okay, we wheel the Clever Impersonator. We can still do all the clone nonsense. I don't think they look that crazy in here, though, because we're not going to have any cheap permanents on board to copy with them. We just really need to copy an opposing card. We can't copy Legends, so they're pretty bad at that too. I'm actually going to go for the removal. Grab the Soul Servitude here. Pick 12. Okay, we're not playing any of this, but sideboard a Hangerback Walker. Neither of these are going to be good in here, are they? Ral could be good. Oh, this is the other Ral. That's not the double spell Ral.
Hey, you see a guy in a blue hood around here?
Frostine will be good. Had that in our first deck. It was pretty great. Yeah, this doesn't seem like a very strong card. I mean, I'll run it for now, but if we find enough other spells, it'll probably get cut. Okay, efficient removal of Fight with Fire. What I really like about this is it's the efficient removal and also the win condition later if you get to 10 mana, so that's pretty cool. Indrix is a super fun way to try to win. You get a Storming Lightning Bolt, so if you draw it later and you still have spells to cast, you can storm off and bolt your opponent for 21. I don't think that's a consistent way to win in this cube. Plunderer if you're aggressive, but we're not aggressive. Crabomination's another pretty absurd win condition. Any of these kind of spells that cast things from your opponent's deck or their hand or their graveyard or like 1 card off of each deck, anything that's casting something from each player's deck for free or any player's deck for free is kind of absurd in Chromatic Cube, because so much of what is going to be in our decks is going to be other massive top-end finishers. So I also like Crabomination a lot. I could see taking that over Fight with Fire because of how great of a top-end spell it is, and I think I'm actually going to do that here. Take Crabomination. All right, Thundering Falls is the on-color fixing, but Ashiok played tremendously well in our last deck. A lot of that was because we could ramp into it, but I think they're still quite nice without that. So I'm going to take the Ashiok here. There is Unable to Scream. But I've been getting progressively lower and lower on just hard removal spells. Maybe that's wrong, but we'll see. Celeste just seems like a wonderful mana rock for this deck. 3 mana, it's mana of any color. We can also draw a card, discard a card pretty often whenever it's flipping between day and night. I need more mana rocks, more than I need another good 5 or 6 drop here, like Sheoldred. I like the Commit to Memory in a more controlling kind of deck. Hopefully that can come around a little later. I'm taking the Celestius here. The Burn Down the House kind of board wipe also. was less impressive than I thought it would be. Okay, this will probably still be a really impressive board wipe because this we can also just do as a 2-mana deal for it. So like a cheaper Fight with Fire, basically, as a cheap removal spell. But it also doubles as having that late game flexibility of clearing out a wider board. I like that better than Ob Nixilis. I think our other Planeswalkers are all stronger, except Ral. Ral probably getting cut still, but hey. Pick 5, Midnight Clock is very nice because if it sits around long enough, it's just a win condition all by itself. Shuffle your whole graveyard back in and draw 7. You're the only person that draws 7 off of this card. It's not like the other ones where each player does. Yeah, Midnight Clock seems great. Emrakul's also very fun and pretty strong in any deck like this that's a little slower, but I think I really, really like our top end right now. I really want more ramp. I'm going to take the ramp when I can get it because we're not a green deck. It's not going to be showing up in every single pack. Pick 6, Painful Truths is 3 mana, draw 3. That's fine. Price of Fame, 4 mana, destroy a creature, surveil 2. That's fine. Refute, 3 mana, counterspell, draw a card, discard a card. That's also fine. I think counterspells are super, super good here because a lot of the big finishing threats, a lot of the good ones people will actually be running are cards like Crabomination that do something the second they hit the board, or like a Bolas. If Bolas resolves, you get to plus it or do something with it the second it hits the board. Your opponent, even if they have an instant speed removal spell that can kill a Planeswalker, doesn't get to kill it till you've activated it once. So I do really like counterspells. Again, as I've said before, time and time again, with how much top end there is. Okay, here's the Ral that I was actually considering taking, because there are some good instant sorcery finishers like Magma Opus and Crackle with Power that he could double up. That said, he's in the same pack as the Magma Opus, so I would rather just take the Magma Opus there at that point. But I actually think I want more cheap cards, and this is a really good one for hitting what we need. Get the interaction early, dig for the bombs later. If they don't kill the Jonathan Harker, you can also flip this, and this is your win condition, right? You just flip it into the 6-mana version and start casting your whole deck for free. So I think the Looter style effect is a really good card to have access to early. Here's an Abrade for more cheap removal. The other option there was the Bunker, the little 2-mana spend 2 and draw a card every turn. That also looked like it would be fine. We wield the Fight with Fire. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. I'll play it. Hard control deck here, full Grixis. I did spend a lot of picks passing on some just like blue-red duels this pack. Luckily, they're coming back. I do like Unable to Scream in here, but this dual land will never come back at this point. We can't wheel from this, so I think I have to take it. Pick 11. Get that burn down the house, have a sweeper just in case. Yeah, Mirror Room only copies creatures. We're going to be almost a creatureless deck. Pick 12. Cruel Claw's like if it hits your opponent once, you just win. Depending on what you hit. If you hit them once and then you flip an Abomination, a Crabomination or a Nicol Bolas or something, like GG, I win, lol. Not going to play Magmatic Channeler or Saheeli. I could play a Piggy Bank in here, I guess. The fact that it dies into a treasure token is actually quite relevant, and Ral could get played, but probably won't. I did pass up on Crackle with Power and Magma Opus, so that feels like probably no. Probably not. A Treasure Map is another one of these cards that could be slightly explosive, because you just sit there scrying in the early game trying to find what you need, and when you flip it, you get triple treasure. That can be an early Nicol Bolas or something. I like that idea with the Crabomination. Scholar's a really good finisher, but again, doing pretty great on those. I like the Treasure Map idea here. Duplicator's cute, but I'm gonna go Treasure Map on this. Go for some early game consistency. Oh, Sublime Epiphany. It's in the same pack as Hostage Taker. It's also really good, and a red-black duel. I'm taking Epiphany though. Card is just the nuts. Wayfarer's Bauble looks really nice in Grixis. Oh, Gale's Redirection, though? This is another... We're just going to have every absurd top-end counterspell, right? Yeah, this just counters your opponent's spell and then immediately cast it against them. 9 times out of 10, I would say it's just going to cast it against them. Well, no, I guess you do have to high roll a little bit. Okay, I lied. You get to cast against them next turn. That's not technically immediately, but it's still really, really bonkers. Pick 4. This pack is nothing for our deck. I mean, Unstoppable Slasher is just stupid in any deck, so I'll play that. Just to block, and then sit there stunned a little bit, and then block, and then sit there stunned a little bit. But, like, if you have the good curve out, like, if I have the Slasher in the opener, they don't have a lot of cheap creatures, and I've got, you know, a Braid, or a Fight with Fire, and Electrolyze. Like, if you clear a path for this thing, it ends the game real, real fast in a format that is real, real slow. Pick 5. Mana Confluence is wonderful fixing. It's better than Deduce or Hidetsugu and Kairi. It's not a Draconic debut deck. The only dragon in our deck is Bolas, which I can only reduce the cost by 1 anyway. This is another Bolas, but it's not a creature-type dragon, sadly. So I can't reduce that. If debut could reduce the cost of a Bolas, slam dunk, get in here. Not a good Goggles deck. We didn't get the 2 big red finishers. The Crackle with Power, the Magma Opus that you want to use the Goggles with. Pick 6. I like the Aether Channeler. Really, really consistent card. Oh, Solar Transformer, though. Yeah, 2 mana rock for this deck that also adds any color. That feels better. But I do like Aether Channeler a lot in this cube. If your opponent does happen to be faster, you just like bounce one of their things. If they're not, you just get your 2/1 out, you draw a card. It's great value. Okay, I like all these duels. I'm going to take one of these. I've got 2 blue-red, 2 black-red. I'm literally equal on both. What colors are most important? Blue and red. Black is the splash of these colors. So we'll get another blue-red land then. There were playable cards there, but double red and 1's a little difficult. In a 3-color deck, I'm not super into that. I am into Shark Typhoon. Just cycle it, get a shark, draw a card. Is always solid at like 3 or 4 mana. And you top deck a late game and you can play a gigantic shark at instant speed or drop it on the board so every spell you're casting comes with a big shark too. That part's pretty fun. I don't think Bronze Walrus is super good. A 3 mana Dork that only adds 1 mana from there. Take a Scholar. Okay, I don't think I'm a good deck for either Ral, so I'm just going to insta-cut those now to speed up our deck building a little bit. I don't think anything else in here is like an insta-cut, probably a little bit of top end. Neither of these are good in this deck. We're just taking a Cultivator's Caravan and probably cutting it. It's our worst mana rock that we've drafted. This might be even worse, but I think Crush of Tentacles is pretty bad. So what does this one do? Sacrifice it, seek a card with the highest mana value. At mana value X or less. Okay. So it's a Hedron Archive that instead of sack it to draw 2, you sack it for free to draw 1 card of however big it got. Next is becoming cute, but doesn't seem super great here. Baron's fine, but double blue's pretty difficult that early in the game, even with a decent mana base. So I'll have the double Titan option. Okay, we've got 50 cards here. We have to cut 10 things out of this deck. I want to keep all of our cheapest ramp, but I'm thinking we can probably cut the double colorless rocks. There's just a lot of restrictive mana costs in this cube and in this deck. I need double blue, double red, double black, blue, black, red specifically, black, red specifically. Being able to tap for colored mana is really, really important, to where there is definitely a downside of hitting just double colorless instead of any colored mana. If we did have the 4 mana Key to the Archive, where you can discard a card, pick something up out of its spellbook, and it taps for 2 mana of any color of your choice, that I would super play, but the colorless is a really big downside to these 2 rocks. And I think because we have, you know, Solar Transformer, Caravan, and Celestis, we can cut those and still have a good amount of mana ramp. The other thing that I'm kind of interested in is trying out the Brazen Collector here, even in a deck that's not particularly aggressive, just as like Red's answer to Llanowar Elves, like sort of can be a mana dork for us. I've just been so impressed by the ramp spells in this cube towards just playing one of these ridiculous bombs early that I'm going to try to do that with cards like Brazen Collector and Piggy Bank just for the treasure tokens. So leaving those in as well to go with these cards. We could probably cut a little bit of our top end finishers and maybe a little bit of our interaction. I've got Abrade, Mortars, Refute, Servitude, Fight with Fire, Electrolyze, Redirection, Swindle, Burn on the House, Epiphany. Yeah, I've got a lot of interaction. I think, what's our most mediocre? Probably Soul Servitude. Destroying an artifact is actually very relevant for Abrade because there's so many good mana rocks as well that it can blow up. Yeah, I think Soul Servitude. Again, I really, really like the counter spell, so I don't think it's Refute, even though that's probably the most mediocre of our counter spells. Well, no, the efficiency is probably pretty good on that still. For finishers, Nexus of Becoming, Replication, Shark Typhoon, maybe one of the two Titans can get cut. Still looking pretty good. I still don't have a lot of finishers, though. What I don't like about the Replication specifically is it's one of those cards you have to have this and another good permanent on the board, so it doesn't win the game by itself like every other win condition we have does. It wins the game harder when you have another good permanent, right? Like it's if you have a Replication and you have any like big permanent, it's probably going to win the game over time more often than if you have like a Frost Titan and one random permanent. But when you don't have that other good card to copy, all you have is lands to copy with this, and you top deck this versus top decking the Frost Titan, there's just a world of difference. Whereas, like, if you have the Frost Titan and one other solid permanent that would have been good to copy with Replication in the first place, you're probably already in a pretty decent spot, even if it's not going to be as strong as it would be when you had Replication, if that makes any sense. So I like going for the consistency a little more there. The kind of self-contained win conditions here. This is not a crazy Scholar deck either. There's no like really big instant sorceries to copy with this, so it's just a 7 mana 5/5 that probably like blows one thing up when it comes to play, which is fine, but a little below rate by cube standards, so I think I can cut that. Maybe a little bit of the ramp. Maybe the treasure map I'm dumping mana into every turn over turn, so it's going to cost a lot over time. Maybe this isn't the greatest midnight clock ever. Over just playing something that taps for any color. I don't know. I just really like that it's a mana rock with its own built-in win condition. It just feels really absurd to me. You cut the Caravan? Like, crew 3 for the 5/5. Like, I'm probably never crewing this. It's just a worse Celestis. I mean, Celestis is more annoying because then you have to track day and night the rest of the game. But on Arena will track that for you. So I feel like Caravan's just worse in this deck. I'm not cutting all these, though. I don't want to cut 3 more pieces of mana. So I cut some non-mana card here. Fight with Fire actually looks kind of sick here with the Spell Swindle. Gives us another random Spell Swindle win con because the Swindle for all the treasure, use the treasure on the Fight with Fire. I like that a lot. Maybe it's supposed to be the Brazen Collector or the Piggy Bank here because we're just not aggressive at all. Could be the Metamorph that's not super consistent, but it's really, really good at the right time. Kind of like keeping the one sweeper, but I could see cutting it with, again, the lack of aggro that we've seen around. There's almost none. Just kind of completely nullified that strategy, which is a bummer to me. Guess I'll drop like the piggy bank here. I'll still try to do the brazen collector, turn over, turn ramp. So I'll drop piggy bank, treasure map, caravan. And yeah, call it a deck there. Double check the mana base though. 12 blue, 10 red, 6 black. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 blue sources. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 red sources. Tiny bit less red than blue, that sounds right. And for black, we have 4, 5, 6, 7. Do I have any double black cards? I have one double black card, and it's Abomination. I think I can cut another black source to have even more consistent blue, because I have so many double blue cards in this deck. So I'm going to up the blue count there, lowering the black. But then, looks good to me. That is a 17 land deck, really high mana costs here. There's plenty of mana rocks here, but yeah, chunky, high mana value stuff. I'm going to keep it like that. 17 land, Bolas control. Bolas counterspells and giant bombs in the late game deck. Looks like a Chromatic Cube deck to me. Without further ado, let's hop into gameplay and see how it does. All right, we can keep the opener, but I do need to hit a red or black mana, but any red or black mana gets me a turn 3 Cruel Claw to start this off, and then we curve up from there. Starting the curve turn 3, most formats really, really slow. Chromatic Cube, not horrific. Still a little slower than you would want to be. There's a Celeste just now. We'll probably have to start with that instead of Cruel Claw. We've drawn no lands here towards the red or black requirement on that card. Plus, ramping into these counter spells is going to be important. Relics of the Rubble Belt. Draft a card from its thing twice, put one on the battlefield. Oh, it's just Cultivate, right? Yeah, it's Cultivate for Signets. That's really nice. Fancy. I'm a little scared about this matchup, but Counterspell should play pretty well here. It's like green-based 5-color ramp, it looks like. They grabbed a Simic Signet, though. So maybe not. Do I just Unstoppable Slasher here and try to chip in? I don't think so. I think I need to ramp towards these counterspells if I top deck a land, because they have so much mana so quickly here, because they get to cast another Signet this turn and crack the Bauble. Concerningly large amount of mana coming up. Fabro Elder. Speaking of a concerning amount of mana, that taps for 2 mana by itself. And I don't have any targeted removal. Ay. It's not good. They've only got 3 cards in hand, though, so let's just rip one out with Bolas. They've got 2 cards. They can play basically any 2 cards in the whole cube. There was another land still in hand. Uh-oh. About to get blown out by something, but I could not have had 5 mana up this turn. I drew 0 lands all game. Okay, Binding the Old Gods is not horrible. Is it just all ramp and no finishers in their hand? Maybe. Boom, that is the 5th mana to hold up these counter spells. I could just end up dying to the Faber Welder if I do this, but gotta be something they're working towards. And I got a Nicol Bolas to work towards. Where'd the burn down the house? They get a Surveil 1. Poke me for 3. Relic of Lens. That does not do a ton, but I wouldn't mind casting one of my own, or just getting the treasure tokens to cast Bolas here. I think I'll swindle that and get the treasure tokens to cast Bolas. Sure. Bonnie's pretty bad, but it's like, if I don't counterspell that, there's no way they're gonna just cast Bonnie, because they're sitting there so long. on these other turns and not casting big bombs, so they're clearly playing around counter spells here. So I can just metamorph the Bonnie. Seems like the play. I don't think Cruel Claw's ever going to hit them. If I pay 2, Bonnie gives me land here. Oh, that's when I attack, not when I play her. Okay. Can't play Slasher and hold up Gale's Redirection, which is bad. Oh god, Bonnie's so bad here because the Death Touch. They spit out 1 land, that's 7/7. 7/7 Bow. Oh, thank god they attacked with Bonnie. So I can just block Bonnie then instead of Bow. I was gonna say Bow's gonna be a 7/7. I'd have to double block and lose both my creatures. Trade, take 7. Looks good. We are down to 9. Could take their Karn, but Karn doesn't do much. I guess Karn makes a construct here. They're gonna draw the card, sure. Oh! They don't have the mana for either of these instantly, but they can easily cast one next turn. Guess if I give them the automaton, then I can redirect that if they prototype it. And Leveler's worse for me when it resolves. Okay, they didn't prototype it. Bolas, I don't have redirection up. But I can exile 2 from hand, which is big, but then the 7/7's also going to hit me. Get the Slasher to block the 7/7. Redirect that. Do have to hard cast it for 2 now, but I can exile the automaton with it still. I have to exile the disruption. Okay. Cityscape Leveler is basically uncounterable anyway. The destroy something part. Oh, well. This game just lined up brutally. Because I have to kill Automaton. If I don't kill that, they get a Bonnie Paul from their grave and just windmill slam me. So I use this, kill Automaton, and then they just Cityscape Leveler Bolas, and there's nowhere to go from there. Counterspell is just lined up like exactly awfully this game. But again, I really think I had to counter the the mana rock, because if we don't, I don't see any universe in which they are casting Bonnie there. They frequently on earlier turns cast smaller cards instead of a big bomb. Against the open blue mana, they're just playing around the counter spells, and there's not a lot you can do when they're already ahead on board if they play around your counter spells. It's like, okay, if I never cast my counter spell, I die. If I do cast my counter spell, they play the big bomb and I die. Because we're just already behind on board. Okay. Why 1 mana off? Oh, this is a power stone, not a treasure token. Wow. That's obnoxious. I was literally 1 mana off from this being a top deck to not die to leveler at least. Oh wait, no, they can just unearth it. Yeah, Jesus, this card is stupid. Okay. 1-1 it is, head into game 3. Oh wow, my memory sucks. We're 0-1 heading into game 2. My earlier drafts are blurring together. The Demir draft and the Izzet draft are blurring together in my mind and mixing with the Grixis draft. That was the only game of Magic we've played so far. Alright, thank goodness we're on the play here. And we get to start with turn 2, Jonathan. I feel like with like the big explosive like 5-6 mana counter spells, there is a pretty monumental difference between being on the play and on the draw, because that means it's really hard to resolve a 5-6 mana counterspell in the first place, but especially if you're on the draw, like getting to a position where you get to just hold that mana up is very difficult. But if you're on the play, you naturally have the tempo in your favor where your opponent is on the defensive, they have to be reacting to your plays. You're gonna be a little ahead on board. As you can see already, we're a little ahead on board. It gets a lot easier to just go play a land, hold up a 5-drop counterspell. Okay, we'll drop a Cruel Claw and be fine with trading that into Saboteur here, I think. Although I could always chump with Harker to try to get a Cruel Claw hit in if they don't have removal in hand. That could be nice. At this rate, with no ramp in the hand, it might be... Okay, they just immediately remove a Cruel Claw. Well, that's kind of gross, because if Saboteur ever hits me, they get Virus Beetles that make me discard extra cards. Card is pretty obnoxious if it connects, but all I would be doing is chumping here anyway. So I think it's got to hit one time. Rough. Yeah, if I still had Cruel Claw on board, I might have been okay with chumping and trying to use Cruel Claw to draw a bunch of cards and stuff. There's the fight with fire. Fashionably late. Try to flip Harker now. Could metamorph their Virus Beetle and have an artifact on board to emerge with Crabomination. We are really hoping that they're not going to kill Harker by doing that, but if it were like a discard a card style looter, we would discard Bolas there, so if Bolas is gone forever, Bolas is gone forever. Speaking of Bolas, just play this one and trade it into the Saboteur. I don't mind that. That's a good draw. Because we get the 2-for-1 here. They discard a card, and then this trades into the Saboteur creature. Suppose I can just let them have a handful of Virus Beetles here, right? Like if they go land, Virus Beetle, you just start playing off the top and their board kind of sucks and Bolas can try to win this. We're either getting soloed by Saboteur or just flying through the army of beetles. Alright, well, so far we're flying through the army. I need the land. Guess I ditched Abomination then so that I can play Metamorph here. We really hope they can't kill Jonathan. Oh wait, no, I can't play Metamorph here. Yeah, I have to keep the land and then top deck another one. Yes. So next turn I have the Jonathan flip. If he is still around, that's the plan. This is 7 to flip, right? Yeah, sadly we won't be able to flip Bolas. Not even going to put Harker at any extra damage risk here because he's so important if he resolves, or if he flips here. Top deck land, top deck land, top deck land. Top deck land is 100% a win this game. Oh, let's go. Okay. Abominam, right? Bolas kills one of these cards, and the problem is the board's super wide. There is no board wipe ability on Bolas. Exile 2 cards in hand, but I need to focus on getting on board here. So Crabominum for multiple creatures, multiple blockers. What did we hit? Maelstrom Pulse or Kogla? Those are both insane on this board. Maelstrom Pulse kill all the virus beetles would be quite cute. And this is why Jonathan Harker is the bee's knees. Like, if they kill him, you had a Merfolk Looter and you set up your draws in the early game, and that's good. If they don't kill him, you flip him and win. Oh, that was awesome. I was not expecting that at all. I was really, really expecting they just cast like one murder and we've got no plan that game, but that felt like our best bet to maybe be able to do something explosive and get a victory, and it worked out. They just had no removal because this cube has super, super little. We are 1-1 heading into game number 3. Game 3, really solid opener. It's got our cheap pieces of removal. The only thing that it's particularly missing is ramp. I would love this hand if it had like a mana rock in it. I think it would be pretty exceptional. Especially because any of like the 3 mana rocks, hey, that's sort of a mana rock. Any of the 3 mana rocks can also get emerged with the Crabomination, where we sack it and then play the Crabomination for real cheap. Play this probably on turn 4, right? Because we could spend 5 mana, 4 lands in the mana rock, and then by sacking the mana rock, the crab only costs 4 mana on the emerge. Yeah, no, Crabomination is awesome with a 3 mana rock. So I'm happy to have a couple in this deck. Opponent's ramping up with Explorer, doing nothing else in their early game for now. Brazen Collector, just being a cheap first striker, is really nice with damage-based removal like Electrolyze and Abrade. Next turn we get to cast an Inferno Titan if Brazen Collector is still around. Oh no, not quite. We'll have 5 mana, not 6. I like blowing up the mana rock. Always bolt the bird kind of stuff here. Keep them slightly off the bigger plays, and it's not like a Braid is going to kill anything they're about to cast for 7 mana anyway. So Bolas for later. I really need to hit a land. I might need to hit a land badly enough to Electrolyze just to cycle to it. But we'll wait till they're through their turn just to make sure that if they have any cheap creatures, we can kill something with Electrolyze before we cast it. Eldest Reborn. Ah, that's really good here. Kills our Mana Dork, and then the discard's going to be painful too. I need to not miss a land drop. I got to cycle this. That's not a land. It's also not a land. Wow. I guess Metamorph sort of can be. We can choose the Cold Steel Heart here. And we go black on this. If I go black, I can play Crabomination, and if I go blue, I can play a Spell Swindle. It's going to be super hard to just sit here and hold up a counter, though. So I think I just choose black and then discard Spell Swindle, because they're probably about to resolve some big threat, and then I can't just like, okay, I will draw a card and pass the turn, hold up Swindle. Okay, that's not a big threat, but that's fine because I can Inferno Titan the Bronco. I guess Eldritch Reborn picks up creature or planeswalker from a graveyard. I'm glad I didn't discard Bolas. So they're going to pick up Brazen Collector. Oh, we're fine. Unless they have the instant speed removal for Titan, and then we're not fine. I suppose I top decked the land for Crabomb, so I can do that instead and exile the card from hand, and then we don't even have to worry about that. Oh, but the Doppelgang? That's a pretty good card to exile, but doesn't do anything if I play it for 0. So rough hits on Crabomination, but still good to get rid of the their card in hand. So that played perfectly fine. So they're going to reanimate a 2-1. Oh, they milled Uro with Search? That's a really good hit. Yeah. Now they get to escape that instead of getting the Brazen Collector. Well, not escape, but they get to do the gain 3 draw card instead of just picking up a 2-1. And they hit an Atris for a massive draw spell. Wow, this is nasty. This Collective Brutality. Target opponent reveals instant or sorcery. -2/-2 drain 2. That's not that good, but the lands are horrible for them, so I'm going to do this. They probably just take the Brutality pile, right? Because then their graveyard is more full for Uro as well. Yeah, Atris is so good with Uro, right? Because if you ever hit Uro in the top cards with the Atris, then you just mill the Uro and you get extra value. And you can always just take the 1-card pile and still get plenty of value with the Atris. All right, we were like never going to be in a position to just sit there and hold up the Sublime Epiphany, so I'm fine with losing it here. Okay, so here's the Inferno Titan. The Bronco is actually the bigger deal on board. Atris is a big deal when he enters. But Bronco can draw them more cards, so we kill the Bronco. Jam in for as much damage as we can, as quickly as we can, to try to outrace an Uro amount of value. Well, I don't even have double blue for Sublime Epiphany anyway. Even if I did find a way to get them to not draw the Collective Brutality. I don't think there's any way I can reveal those piles where they won't draw it. Because if I just show them 2 face-up lands or a face-down, like, with the way that game was going, they're just going to take the face-down. Wow. Blasphemous Edict into Uro is nasty. Wipe the board and get the Uro going. Yeah, that was a really good draw. But their graveyard's empty enough that Bolas can take over this game if their Uro top deck was bad enough. No, they still have 5 other cards in grave? Never mind, it's not. They can just re-escape Uro. Jesus. Well, that means we're in Gambletown, which is not a place I like to be, but here it is. Gambletown, whee! Well, we really lost that gamble. But they can't one-shot Bolas, which is the reason we go here. Instead of just killing an Uro, they can immediately bring back anyway. Alright, 3 loyalty Bolas. There's Agent of Rafine. Draw a card off of Skanta, the Sunken Ruin. Find Liliana of the Veil. Have each player discard a card here, I guess. That's pretty solid. If their last card is just nonsense.
Happy to help, but I'm taking the credit.
Their last card is not nonsense, so they don't do that. Burn down the house. That'll be good once they kill Bolas. Well, we know their last card isn't bad, because they would have plussed Liliana. So I could get rid of their card in hand here. But then I'm just allowing Bolas to die for sure, because we're not doing anything about Uro. I'll take the gamble. It's a good one. Okay, they can escape Uro, but it'll be summoning sick. Remand? Owner's Hand. Owner's Hand? Okay, I have to refute. Because that goes back to their hand. If that resolves, yeah, I definitely have to refute that. Good draw, good draw. Bolas definitely beats a Liliana. The Uro's the issue here. The Uro might still keep things going for our opponent. They only have 11 cards left. I mean, I doubt they'll mill out, but I am milling them one card every turn with Bolas, which is something. Oh, wait. No, they're all exiled. I'm milling multiple cards a turn. It's not like we're cascading out of their deck and just hitting a random spell and playing it and then putting the rest back. Bolas doesn't put the cards back. How have I never noticed that? It's never been that relevant. Wow, search for Escanta into the Bolas removal spell. Gross. Gross. Let's just draw a Fibblethip, and then we'll be fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 out of 9 mana I need to kill Liliana. God dang it. That's a pass. If I play Murderous Rider, they just make me sacrifice and it goes back into their deck. Now, the worst part about this is I need 9 mana Fight with Fire, which means I need to play the land, and then Liliana just makes me discard my card. Yeah, so they can Cruelty of Gix, see that I have a Fight with Fire, and then no. Oh, I should plus Liliana. Goodbye, Fight with Fire. Yeah, Liliana's really gross with Uro. Uro's just gross. Uro's a stupid card. That's why we pack one, pick one. This has been 100% Uro's game. Even more than it was Bolas's game, more than it was Liliana's game, more than anything else. This is just Uro's game to win. How did they still not plus Liliana? That was such a bold move from my opponent. Now I'm really mad I didn't top deck a land to punish them for that. Just like, what, you don't plus? Then I can just top deck a land, kill Uro and Liliana, and you don't have enough cards in grave for Uro anyway? That's insane to me. You wouldn't plus. Their hand has to be, like, astronomically powerful to not plus there. They didn't plus and I didn't hit the land anyway. That's so sad. Yeah, now just no punishment. All right, here's the filler card to get rid of Fight with Fire. They're gonna let me Cruel Claw them? Got 5 cards left over there. Put any creature from a graveyard on the battlefield. Oh, no, they're not. They just have a Grave Titan, too. Yeah. I can't even draw a single Fibblethip for this case. Got me. That was just a whole lot of stuff going wrong. Just in the way that all the cards lined up. Kind of our game to lose. 1 and 2 heading into game 4. Here we are on the play for game 4. Really need to hit 1 land, but then I can Midnight Clock and then Metamorph the Midnight Clock for even more mana. So this is a keep. I am 100% confident in that. It's possible to get unlucky and get punished for it, but one land draw makes this hand very good. So you keep those. There's the steam vents. A little tempted to start with Unstoppable Slasher. Am I going to use the Midnight Clock mana next turn anyway? No, I'm just playing another 3-drop. Yeah, I'll play the Slasher. Okay, they have to touch the Spirit Realm. Cruel Claw? Oh, here we go again. It's another card they have to immediately kill or it will very, very much beat them. DC just as a 4/6. Awkwardly, my hand's really bad at killing a 4/6. Jonathan's very good if I top deck a land, so I think I'm running him out. I guess Metamorph guarantees the land here, but then I'm not holding up Electrolyze. I mean, they're black-white. There's a lot of removing that color. If they just removal Harker, then I'm going to feel really bad about just metamorphing a clock right now. So I'm going to pass and hold up Electrolyze. And I'll just cycle the Electrolyze like no matter what to make it more likely to top deck the land here. Ashiok's the draw, huh? Can they respond to this ability before it gets transformed? I don't know if I even want to find out. Or if I just want to Frost Titan here, because that's really nice on this board. Yeah, I'll just Frost Titan here. Oh, they had nothing? God dang it. Yeah, Arena doesn't even stop them. They had nothing. We should have just flipped Harker then, and just played Frost Titan off of the Harker flip. Sure. Well, they can't hit Frost Titan. So goodbye Harker now. Oh, they tried! Rip. When you have Secret Ward, it's actually brutal. Frost Titan probably has a way higher win rate than it actually has. Like, than it deserves, because it doesn't show that it has ward to anybody. It probably has a super inflated win rate. Grab. Grab on them. I will not Day of Judgment. Let's see your hand. Get rid of Prismatic Ending. Oh, they've got a Kaya coming up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They top deck one land and Kaya just wins the game. Well, no, if they top deck one land, Kaya's going to be absurd. I think I'm actually stunning their mana with Frost Titan. We probably still win if they resolve Kaya because we flipped the Obsessive Inquiry here. And we're just casting absolute nonsense for free every turn. Go to 5. No priest, no kick. Play a land or cast a spell. So do not play the land. Do not play the land right now. Metamorph the Gear Hulk to be at a really healthy life total, probably. Oh, I just realized what I could have done. That would have been really, really gross. I could have played a land for the Bolas to make them discard a card, and also metamorphed my Crabomination, and that exiles the last card in their hand, so they would have had no cards left off of that line. That's a pretty big miss. Oh shit, I should have stunned their land again. I'm playing real sloppy. Alright, they're on full Kaya top deck mode. I don't believe they hit the land for Kaya, but we'll see. Play it safe and stop some damage. I should have blocked with the Nightmare. Cycle, they hit a tap land. That's brutal. I played that whole game out so sloppy, and our opponent is still drawing absolute nonsense. So that is another victory for us there. And that is going to be 2-2 now. We are 1 win away from getting at least a 50-50 run this time around, which would be great. That would leave us with a pretty awesome record on the event overall. We have a positive win rate in every other draft we played, including 1 trophy run. So if we can get at least like a 50-50 on this one, that's a really great record on the cube drafts this time around overall. This hand is wonderful. This is awesome. Probably the strongest hand we've had so far because it has the mana ramp into the immediate bombs. Top off the curve with Epiphany and it won't even be suspicious because I'll have dumped my whole hand out anyway. Generous Plunderer. Okay. Genuinely probably kind of goated in this cube because of the prevalence of mana rocks. So just shooting me for the number of artifacts I have when I've got a bunch of mana rocks on board is nasty. Like, to the point, I'm going to Ashiok that, bounce it back to their hand here. Next turn. I guess I actually just already have Sublime Epiphany up from that treasure token, though. That's moderately tempting. But I have no creature on board to copy with Epiphany. I mean, I guess I get to make them discard a card by copying Bolas, but I don't get to keep the Bolas copy. Mortars? Okay, now I can just Mortars it. I don't have the mana to Ashiok and Mortars. I can Midnight Clock and Mortars. Feels worth it. Spooky card is spooky. Flip this Bolas next turn. This is the draw 2, deal 10, reanimate something Bolas. Cool. Tap out for Hedron Archive. Mind tapping out for Ashiok here. Okay, well now I have Spell Swindle or Epiphany. If I just hold up counter spells and attack with Bolas 4 turns in a row, we can't lose, so I'll just do that. That's a lot of treasure. That's a lot of treasure. Now I get to hold up Epiphany and play Ashiok. Good grief. I could even flip Bolas and hold up Epiphany, but I'm just going to play the Ashiok. Get the insta damage in. The flipped Bolas doesn't actually shoot our opponent at all. It just sits there drawing cards and reanimating stuff. So I'm going to go for the faster kill by actually getting some damage in here. Apologies for the phone. I will turn that down a little now. Oh, hello, stomach. Better get some dinner after this recording session. Jeez. Now I have a creature on board to copy with Epiphany, but it might be better to just make them discard another card off of Bolas's Enter effect than it is to get another 2/3 Nightmare. It's probably better to get the Nightmare, right? Because they're at 8. That would be insta-lethal. 8 damage on board. I have an Electrolyze as well, though, so I already have the 8 damage. Just attack for 6 plus Electrolyze. Yeah, this is going to be rough for opponent. This is so rude. Null man permanence. For what? For the bounce? Yeah, for the bounce. Sure, Hedron Archive. Copy in Nightmare. Draw a card. Auto pay. We've had both of the different ends of the spectrum here with the counter spells. We had our very first loss where they lined up just horrifically. Just consistently awfully. And then we had this game where they were like unbeatably brutal. So really shows you the two ends of the spectrum for those cards. Part of what makes them not like MVP Windmill Slam always take cards is they do have those games where you just have them at the wrong time and they're not super good. But whew, like when a lot of the decks in the format's best plan is a similar game plan to our opponent there, where it's just like slam a giant card, slam a giant card, slam a giant card, having those counter spells is absolutely astronomical in those games. Okay. So we're on Brazen Collector first here. I thought our opponent was Kingler, the Pokemon. Green, white, blue, black. All colors all day long. Well, we don't see a red source yet, but I'm guessing. Another green source. Enduring Vitality. I'd love to have exile removal for that. Sadly, I do not. I can still blow it up because it itself will not tap for mana anymore when it's no longer a creature. So, gonna braid that and play Jonathan in the same turn. Make sure my collector gets to, well, doesn't guaranteed get to keep giving me mana, but it makes it more likely to give me mana. So every creature they play is now a Birds of Paradise style mana dork, but again, we stopped their mana for now. There's Uro, gain 3, draw a card. Think we have a slightly better start this time, but Uro could solo us again. What I really like here is our opponent has a way less full graveyard. Their graveyard is just empty here for Uro's ability. So it'll take hopefully quite a long time before Uro really matters. Five mana this turn. I can have the 7 mana for Bolas next turn off of Midnight Clock. That's better than a main phase 2 burn down the house. Right, like I have the ramp towards it, but I'd have to play it main phase 2 where the devil tokens don't even get to get the haste swing in or anything. If our opponent taps out, we can just put Bolas under the Jonathan Harker and do that for 6 mana Bolas instead of 7 mana. Not that that really matters, but just to get Harker flipped as soon as possible, it would be worth it. All right, I'm assuming Harker's gone. But maybe they didn't read it and Midnight Clock is gone instead. Harker's gone. Okay. Don't want to draw one, discard one. Yeah, draw one, discard Burn Down the House is still valuable. Even if Burn Down the House is exiled forever, again, it's the same as just draw a card, discard a card here. Where I can dig for more threats, like a Cruel Claw. There's an Explorer, so they're going to have 1 mana up here. Yeah, slam down a Bolas and start playing cards out of their deck. Cool. You know, might be better to Mind Rot them than get a random spell out of their deck, but God, I love getting random spells in Chromatic Cube, because a lot of them are so big. Concealing Curtains, not so much, but hey. We have a 9 loyalty Bolas. It's still a 1-for-1. I probably play Bolas a lot worse than I should because I'm so gambly with them, so greedy with them. You're probably supposed to just exile the 2 cards there. Sure, Anguish in Making. Still in a solid position here, especially with the Midnight Clock ticking up here. Is Bolas gonna draw a double removal from them still, too? Like kill the curtains, too? Because then Bolas still 2-for-1 them. They spent 2 removal spells. Okay, that played basically the same as it would have played otherwise. Okay, no, we 2-for-1 them instead of 3-for-1 them, right? So I would have plussed, they would have exiled like a land from hand in one of these, and then cast the other one to exile Bolas. This way we didn't get like 1 more card into their hand. It played very, very close to the same. Okay, well, Inferno Titan's huge and they need to immediately kill it, so I'll play that over Cruel Claw. As good as Cruel Claw is when it hits, Inferno Titan is threatening pretty much insta-lethal. Mythweaver Pock is very big, but not big enough to block Inferno Titan without trading off. Because I can Fire Breathe however big I need to for Inferno Titan. Especially with another mountain off the top. Boom. Here's Cruel Claw. Land off the top. They've got 2 more cards in hand, and an Uro in the grave that is still not escapable, surprisingly. They're going to pass turn. We'll put another hour on the clock. It's at 9 out of 12. So again, even if they blow all our creatures up, the Midnight Clock is going to be the huge card draw. Go for the lethal attack on board. Hullbreaker Horror. So they can block Brazen Collector, but they can't block Cruel Claw, so they do go to 1 here. Tick up the clock with this floating mana. And then put them to 1. See if Cruel Claw draws anything that'll kill them. Sublime Epiphany. Nope. Then We activate the clock and see if that draws anything that'll kill them. No. I could have drawn a Refute, but the Hullbreaker Horror can't be countered anyway, so that wouldn't have changed things. Play Slasher here, I think. They do get to bounce one of our cards for every spell they cast. But like Refute doesn't stop that at all. Wow, the Cityscape Leveler to blow up one of our cards and bounce the other one? I have direct-to-face burn in this deck. That's what we gotta find at this point to get through the Hullbreaker. I have Inferno Titan that got shuffled back in. I have Electrolyze to shoot straight to the face. Got some outs here. But I think I needed them basically instantly. I think I do just die next turn even. It's a bummer way to end it. It's been better to just hold up Refute there. But it just seemed like they were flooded out with how they were playing here. It's just land, go, land, go, land, go. Where Refute is just much worse. If I Celestis and then activate it, I could draw into Electrolyze for the kill. That's our only out, right? Because if I just play the Cruel Claw as a blocker, they blow it up by attacking with Leveler. They don't even need to cast any other spells to do that. Cityscape Leveler's been a massive overperformer. That'll be 2 of our losses here to that card. Just going absolutely ham. I think this is our only line is the draw a card, discard a card here. And hope it's Electrolyze. Oh my god! No justice in this world? Evil prevails again? All hail Bolas? Okay. Victory was not earned. Victory was not earned. Probably should have had Refute up there. But victory was gained, and we are 4-2. That is a positive record in every single Chromatic Cube draft this time around. Feels good. We are heading into game number 7 now. All right, here we are on the play for game 7. There's no blue mana in terms of the lands here, but we have Solar Transformer and the Celestis for mana rocks, both of which will be castable if they don't blow up the Solar Transformer. Technically, if they blow up the Transformer and I draw no lands, then we can't play our other mana rocks. But so far, so good. We drew another land. Even if they blow up Transformer, I play Celestis. Once I play Celestis, I can play Metamorph as another mana rock. Valky. I have no creatures in my hand. Sorry. Wait, what? Oh, I do. I have Phyrexian Metamorph. Okay, but it doesn't work with Valky. For 0 mana, they can make... Or no, for 3 mana, they can make Valky a 0/0. Okay. I lied. I forgot Metamorph was a creature. That is still really irritating, because now our counterspell is revealed, and with a counterspell as big as Spell Swindle, it's really bad to have that revealed. They're also Grixis. Oh god. Turn 3 Cruel Claw, and we have no removal spells in this hand. Might just be GG. The free casts off Cruel Claw. Yep. They know exactly what the only thing I can do is here. So they just go for the win off Cruel Claw. I guess if they cast something off Cruel Claw, that can also get swindled. Ooh, they don't know about that one, but I don't think it matters. Well, no, that could matter, right? Because they could, like, cast something big for free off Cruel Claw and then be like, nice, shields are down, and then I get to Epiphany. Yeah, that's a 5-drop. That's getting swindled. 100% getting swindled if they don't have their own counter. And if they don't have their own counter, then the treasure tokens here means I have Epiphany up too, which is insane. That will mean no Bolas next turn, though, if they make me Epiphany. But it's probably worth it. Okay, they don't tap out. It means they're probably holding... Well, no, if they had a counterspell, they would have countered Swindle. I was going to say, that means they're probably holding for a counterspell to stop my Bolas, but... They would have counterspell Swindle. Would they not? Bolas -4 is a 3 loyalty Bolas. I hate not having Epiphany up, but like, Epiphany just doesn't affect the board, and I need to be affecting the board right now if I can. I don't even think Bolas is really going to affect the board, because I'm just going to Bolas and then make them discard 2 cards in hand this time, right? This is so awkward. I'm going to... Let Jonathan Harker hold up Epiphany. Basically, I'm going to hold up Epiphany. The Jonathan Harker part is kind of irrelevant, but it does allow me to set up 2 win conditions next turn. Right, I just tap Harker, spend the 6 mana for Harker to cast Bolas for free, and also have the Obsessive Inquiry taking over the game for the rest of the game. That way they can't just like 1 removal spell on Bolas to keep me off the victory here. It's my biggest concern with hardcasting Bolas, right? Is like I just hardcast that, I minus kill Cruel Claw, and then they just play like the destroy target planeswalker spell, and it's like, alright, well, what was that for? Alright, I think we win since they did have a haste creature that got them to cast something in their first main phase. Bouncing Valky would be fun, but I would rather them not get a Cruel Claw trigger. But I guess I could bounce their Valky and have Metamorph be a copy of Cruel Claw? No, it just goes back to my hand, doesn't it? Yeah, I think the card goes back to my hand, so yeah, it's definitely better to hit Cruel Claw. Okay, now I have the 2 win conditions flipped. This should be enough for sure. Shoot. Chromanom's the safer immediate board state. I'll go for that. I hit a Lolth. Oh, I hit a double Bolas all the way across the sky. They're both legendary, but hey, what are you gonna do? No. Say goodbye to the hand. Chromatic Cube is brutal. Like, you don't just win or lose, you get demolished. It's just all bombs all day, haymakers everywhere. Fair. I think our opponent's over it. They're going to let their thing become the 0-0. Yeah, and they just scoop. 5-2. Now a very positive record once again for this deck. We have potentially only 2 wins till a 7-win run here, but we already lost 2 games, so I've only got... Actually, I have no breathing room. Our next loss and we'll be out of the event, so razor's edge here, whether or not we can maybe get a full 7-win run. We'll see. 5-2 heading into game number 8. Okay. We are on the draw for game 8. I've got the Brazen Collector Mana Rock, well, Mana Creature, the Celestis Mana Rock, and 2 cheap removal spells. Valky, goodbye Brazen Collector, but goodbye Valky. We'll just Mortars the Valky now. I have nothing else to do turn 2 since they took my 2-drop creature away. So we'll just get it right back. This is a hand I am much less concerned about my opponent knowing the contents of. Because it's just removal. There's no counter spells or anything. I'm tempted to wait for Electrolyze because I could kill Valky and draw a card off of that. It's probably actually worth it. It's red, white, black over there. They do have 1 blue source. Flip to the collector, get the 1 mana this turn. Okay, that doesn't make a lot of sense. I guess it's just for fun. Sure. I guess they thought it might get rid of the Brazen Collector forever if they did that, but it doesn't do that. Yeah, they spent 2 mana to get 1 mana there. It's cute. Okay. Celestis Collector here. Sure. Counter Mana Rock. Actually is much more worth it than it sounds. It's actually really good in Chromatic Cube, I think. Just countering a Mana Rock is a generally good idea. I mean, because, look at the hand, right? The Mana Rock is pretty insane here. Double Titan Carbomination. There's 5 color all counter spells over there. There's a double blue counter spell too with the full 5 colors on board. Some good mana draws over there. Yeah, this is 5 color all counter spells, the deck, I guess. I need another cheap threat. You've got to draw some lands here. There's no way I can just jam out one of these cards when they have Spell Swindle mana up now. Bituminous Blast, Cascade. Yeah, that's pretty good. I can't counter the Cascade. Nahiri? Discard a card, draw a card. You can exile. Tap artifact or tap creature. Sure, I'll swindle Nahiri, and then I would still have Refute up. Let the collector die because I got plenty of treasure. Now with all this treasure, I might be able to go 6-drop holding up Refute. Like Carbomination could be the winner now, right? Carbomination, hold up Refute. Yeah, getting us to those like huge swings and mana turns where I can play the 6-drop finisher and have the counterspell up is massive. Spell Swindle, so much better in this cube than any other format I've ever seen it in. I will eat that Gale's Redirection, and I think that was literally as well as we could have possibly played around their counterspells, and I'm really happy with how things have gone here. Oh, get an Atris? Yep. Huge card draw. Get even farther ahead. I'm going to take whatever pile has mana, because I haven't played a land this turn. And I have 3 6-drops and a 2-drop Mortars for removal. Taking the face downs. Land Harker, that is definitely better than Fight with Fire. Alright, we're in an incredible position to just attack, pass, attack, pass, attack, pass. We just hold up Epiphany so the board state doesn't change, and the board state kills them in 3 swings. So we'll do that. You got it? You know what? I probably should have countered that. I was going to say, like, I'm still really ahead on board and definitely winning right now, so I can just let that resolve, but, like, counter that, get a copy of Crabomination, I don't think is... I think it's just, like, an unlosable game if we do that. So yeah, I just totally forgot how good just copying a crab would have been there. Like, it's less that we really needed to counter the Price of Fame and more that copying a crab is absurd. That makes it so I should have just done that. Snapcaster Mage. What are you snapcasting here? Yes, we'll see, and then we'll just counter that. Oh, Bituminous Blast. Okay. They have to cast that right now, and then I can just Epiphany, make a copy, and then and counter the Cascade ability as well. Spell, triggered ability, permanent. Wait, I don't want to bounce a permanent, do I? I do not want to bounce a Snapcaster Mage, that's for sure. Okay. Yeah, I played really bad again. We definitely should have Sublime Epiphany'd copying a Crabomination last turn. I'm still really in the market for mana. Oh, I got 1 land instead of 2. Shoot. Relic of Legends. What's sad, I don't have a counter spell here if they have another counter, but I think I'm still just trying to hit lethal. Arena does wait when I cast the Mana Rock, and it didn't wait when I was just going through combat, so they likely have the counter spell here. So pretty happy I did not just jam Titan down here. Yeah, I guess we're skipping that. Just playing mana. Sure. Got through the spell swindle. They're dead on board. Glarb doesn't do anything, does he? I guess lets him cast some stuff off the top. That's pretty good. But they have no more spells in hand, so Titan. Oop. GG. Oh, I played real bad there. Some of the sloppiest play of the day. The Epiphany Crab was the big part that I remember, but there were several other sloppy lines there for sure. But it doesn't matter. A lot of sloppy gameplay today, but it still has only led to 2 losses out of these 8 games, 6-2. We made it all the way to the final battle here. This is the final boss of the draft. If we get a win here, that's a full 7-win run, max prize out. So we are down to the wire. This is a super slow hand, maybe slow enough I'm supposed to mulligan it, but these cards are all incredibly powerful and we're on to play. Uh-oh. Avacyn's Pilgrim immediately makes me feel like I'm on the draw again because of the mana accelerant. Our opponent's casting 3 drops while we've got 2 lands on board. There's a Bonicorn. Oh boy. This is one of the most aggressive potential curve outs I will have seen in this cube. Do we get to get one loss to aggro because it just doesn't exist anywhere else? Pilgrim into Bunnycorn into like big 4-drop creature. Nope, just buried in the Garden Midnight Clock. Okay. That's still really good. The Bunnycorn is huge. Bunnycorn might be like the best aggressive card in this cube. Because you can get like a bunch of treasure tokens and mana rocks and stuff with that card too. Thank goodness we top decked a land, because we would just have already lost if we missed that land drop. The game would already be over. Burn down the house is 100% our plan to survive here, which means we need to top deck another land, and the odds aren't incredible. There's 13 lands left in the deck out of 30 cards. That is a coin flip weighted in our opponent's favor. Oh boy, the Ugin to kill Bolas. Very flavorful, but really bad for me. I have slightly less than a 50-50 chance of being in this game, and sadly, we did not hit that 50-50 chance. But Mizium Mortars is about as good of a non-land card as I could have drawn there to keep that Bunnycorn damage off of me. And most of what they could possibly do here is just play more creatures, in which case Burn Down the House will still blow all that up anyway. So now I get an extended turn. If I can win the coin flip this time, then I actually think I definitely win. But we failed again. Shrieker can flip up the Spirit for free. 3, 4, 5, 6 damage on board. I think I have to just electrolyze Ugin and hope to hit the land, and I do it right now in case it's a tap land, so I can burn down the house next turn, and that's how I stay in this game, is by making it more likely to burn down the house next turn. Alright, I'm guaranteed to burn down the house. If we can live through this combat, we have to have 2 life. No, dude, the adversary to buff the whole board twice. Alright, that is literally the best aggressive curve out I've seen in this format by a country mile. Our opponent somehow played aggro here the one time. And it was still a really winnable game if we had just had the mana for Burn Down the House, so that was pretty brutal. They had the removal for our mana rock there. Again, Burn Down the House solos this game because it clears out Shrieker, the token, the Pilgrim, the other face down, everything but this adversary that would still be in their hand there because we would have burned down the house before they played adversary this turn. And then, yeah, we could take over with Crabomination and Ashiok easy. Hold up a Swindle if there's an empty board at any point. Yeah. Brutal, just like a land drop from still winning, but one land drop is all it can take to change a game from an astronomical loss like this to probably an astronomical win in the other direction. Well played from our opponent. Phenomenally well built. Actually seeing a really powerful aggro deck come together. That is a rarity in this cube from what I've seen on our few runs here. But yeah, that was a pretty fun way to end it. Getting the double Bolas deck, we gotta do it. We gotta do it. Gotta praise the God Pharaoh. Hopefully at least once per cube on average, and we managed to do that this final time. Had a lot of fun with this deck. We 100% could have gotten a 7-win run with perfect plays. We made some pretty big misplays in both of our first 2 losses and a lot of our wins. I don't remember any misplays in the very last game of Magic we just played. I think that was just like the curve out, like what do we do there? Yeah, there really weren't any decisions to make in that game, so it's kind of impossible to play that one out wrong. It's just play the mana rock and then play the board wipe if you can. But we couldn't. Yeah, is what it is. Again, these big, expensive counterspells I think are a pretty big part of the format. They are just like key to all of the blue decks. As we saw from when we were casting them ourselves, when we had them cast against us from our opponent, and they're kind of high variance. We saw both, there was a game where we had them and it was really, really bad because we were like on the draw and they had a good aggressive start a little bit with just a couple good permanents. So they had the lead on board, and then I have these counterspells stuck in hand that's really hard to hold them up. But we also saw the opposite thing happen, right? We had an opponent that had very similar counterspells, but I could like easily tell that they just had some big blue counterspells with the way that they were playing the game. So I just got to wait to the point where it was like, well, now eventually I'll just have, Refute plus another spell up, and then we did that and crushed them that game. That worked out really awkward for them. So they're high variance cards, but when you have them at the right time, they are completely backbreaking, especially when you play them correctly. Like if we had copied our Crabomination that one game, that would have been pretty nasty. So yeah, cool stuff. pretty unique stuff from Chromatic Cube. Not often do you get to play with 5 mana counter spells like Spell Swindle and Gale's Redirection and stuff, but you can definitely do it in this cube. And not often do you see games go as explosive as this, but you do see that in Arena Cube, but particularly in Chromatic Cube. So that is going to do it for all the Chromatic Cube drafts this time around, but tomorrow, stay tuned because the Ether Drift Early Access event will begin tomorrow. That is when a bunch of streamers and YouTubers get to stream a bunch of Ether Drift or record a bunch of Ether Drift to make promotional content for Wizards. About half a week before it comes out on Arena. So I'm super, super pumped to play the new format. I hope you are all super excited to see it because Wizards has invited me to the early access event again. So thanks to them as always. But that's going to be a really fun time. We get to just dive headfirst into the brand new draft format. So really cool stuff on the horizon. We got the new set. We're going to have its whole competitive season. We'll play any of its arena directs and arena opens and all that. But for variety season this time around, that's going to do it. That ends the Chromatic Cube draft season for me. And that's also going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it and you're interested in seeing some more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.